The following is an excerpt from the book Experiences of Thought by Anthony Kahn, available now on Amazon.com and Kindle. Who you are and where you come from. A framework for reality. Let us begin our journey by taking a closer look at the blatantly obvious, the surface of reality if you like. We are anthropomorphic, mobile assemblages of flesh and bone, treading upon an inanimate material world made up of countless atoms of various kinds. We share this world with many, many neighbors, some rather like us, though perhaps we don't care for the comparison. Others so alien as to put the best science fiction writers to shame. Our world is not alone. There are quite a diverse variety that orbit our star, a colossal clump of hydrogen fusion that gives light to each of these worlds in varying degree, dwarfing each in its dimensions. But our star, dominant as it is in our daytime sky, is just one of many billions of such objects, each with their own retinue of orbiting worlds, and each part of a great swarm itself, orbiting a center of mass an unfathomable distance away. This is, of course, our Milky Way galaxy, so large that we cannot really understand its size based on our limited experience as humble Earth dwellers. Rather, we have to mentally hop from one scale to another, and again to another to try and relate it in any sensible way to the scale of distance we understand and are used to in everyday life. The story does not stop here, though. The Milky Way is part of its own fellowship of great clouds of stars, once again in orbit around a center of mass, forming what is called a cluster. This cluster is in turn part of a still larger supercluster, which forms part of a great filament of galaxies, one of many surrounding the voids that together make up the frothy continuum of the observable universe. So then, that is it. You are an insignificant, impossibly small speck, entangled in a great web spun by the omnipresent force of gravity. Well, so says the bulk of scientific inquiry, at any rate. Now that you have been adequately cut down to size, let us move on to the next central tenet of our existence as we are informed by modern science: the biological computer. To examine this part of the standard framework adopted by the modern world, we are going to begin by connecting a series of electrodes to your head so that we can monitor the activity in your brain as you perform a diverse range of tasks. On the screen beside you, the doctors can see different parts of your brain light up as you perform each task. So it is clear that different parts of your brain are responsible for different processes that need to occur as you go about your daily life. Now, we are doing a hypothetical study here, of course, and not a particularly ethical one. So we are now going to damage part of your brain with a powerful laser and examine the results. As it turns out, they are quite similar to the last patient we did it to and the one before that. So this, of course, reinforces the fact that the particular part of the brain we have been learning from is responsible for performing a fairly well-defined range of functions. So, what is the inevitable conclusion of our study? Put crudely, your brain is a computer. The CPU, GPU, motherboard, memory, hard drive, everything rolled into one, and we just zapped one of the components. All of the sensory inputs through which we experience the world culminate there and send the information through for central processing. So what are we then at the deepest level of our experience? That is easy. We are neurons firing in a mushy computer seated atop and wired into some sophisticated biological animatronics that provide mobility and dexterity. Case closed. Or so says many a high-flying scientist at any rate. So there it is then, reality in a nutshell, albeit greatly simplified and spoken with just a hint of satire. But it is nevertheless a fairly accurate portrayal of the workings of the world as understood by your average materialist atheist. So, should we end it there? Should we bow to the teachings of science and get on with our lives as best we can in this knowledge? The problem is that what we are here labeling as science is actually a partially informed brand of empiricist philosophy. It too often rests upon what is arguably a logical error in unconsciously equating all that is known with all that is knowable. We can pride ourselves on rising out of the intellectual dark ages of pre-Enlightenment thinking, but we must be careful not to be too impressed by our own knowledge and intelligence. Scientific inquiry has provided a great service to the world, and it must always be the method of choice where it is available as an option. But we must always remember one very important caveat. A scientific inquiry always begins with assumptions. Those assumptions can be well-reasoned and robust, or, at the other extreme, they can be outright ignorant and arrogant. No matter how intricately you craft your framework of reasoning, if it is built upon a shaky foundation, it can come tumbling down with the lightest breeze of conflicting evidence. Whenever you see statistics listed in support of a theory, be careful that you consider how those statistics were arrived at and how they are being used. As Mark Twain famously bemoaned in his autobiography, there are three kinds of lies, listed in increasing order of severity. They are lies, damned lies, and statistics. This said, many things about the world around us we know very accurately, at least at the macroscopic level, thanks to scientific inquiry. Physical constants, for instance, or the role of evolution in the diversification of successful species. It is a fair statement that modern scientific inquiry is generally quite robust and built on a framework of logic and mathematical principles, as well as scrutiny by competing, though not necessarily objective, experts in the field. But not all inferences that we draw from our observations are accurate, and we must be careful, therefore, when we examine the question, what truly do we know? For we almost always are making assumptions that may or may not be correct. We shall return to this statement in a later chapter, but for now let us consider another angle from which humanity has come to view our greater reality over the millennia: religion.